Hare Krishna. So, welcome everyone on our Tuesday evening Bhagavad Gita discussion. Thank you for joining everyone. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langhayate Girim Yatkripatamaham Vande Shri Guru Dinatarinim Paramanandamadhavam Shri Chaitanyeshwaram Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Sorry. Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna. Sorry, I'm having a little sore throat after 4-5 days of celebration. Okay, so last time we talked about Bhagavad Gita Chapter 3, text number 25 to 20 to 25, or sorry, 29 to 35. So there we are talking about Lord Krishna is describing that one should stick with one's own occupational duty rather than trying to perform somebody else's occupational duty. Being engaged in one's own occupational duty is better than trying to engage in somebody else's occupational duty or somebody else's dharma, even though we may be able to do it in a better way. Sometimes it happens that we are able to do somebody else's task perfectly, but in the long run, doing somebody else's dharma is more dangerous. So Lord Krishna is indicating or instructing that better to stick with one's own occupational duty. And one should not get attached to or get indifferent to one's responsibility. So text number 36 onward, it starts with Arjuna's question. So one should not, in the last verse 35, Krishna has mentioned one should not come under the influence of attraction and aversion. So based on that, now Arjuna asks another question. So text 36 starts with Arjuna's question. So this whole section, text 36 to 43 on that one particular topic, it's a very, very important topic. Arjuna uvacha athaken prayuktoyam papam charati purushah anichham api varshneya balad eva niyojitah. What is that impels us to act sinfully? So Arjuna is asking that sometime we are impelled to act sinfully, even though we do not want to engage in that activity, as if by force. Anichan api varshneya. We do not want to act in that way sometime, but we end up acting in that way, as if somebody is impelling us to act sinfully. So what is that which is impelling us to act sinfully? So now here Lord Krishna is going to answer that question, and it is pretty much the same flow what Lord Krishna has explained in second chapter also, text number 61 onwards, where Lord Krishna is describing Kamesha, Krodesha, Rajoguna, Samudbhava. Now, the second chapter where Lord Krishna describes that as we start contemplating on the different objects, we develop attachment to that. ध्यायते विषयान् पुंसः संगास्तेषोपजायते संगात् संजायते कामा कामात् क्रोधोऽभिजायते. So similar way, now Lord Krishna is going to explain in this third chapter, text 37 onwards, that what is that which forces us to act sinfully. So Arjuna, because Arjuna want to lead the life what Krishna is instructing, he want to lead that divine life, but this instruction which Lord Krishna is telling, that one should not come under the influence of any attachments or aversions, these are very difficult to implement. Right? It's easy to hear, but it's very difficult to implement certain of these instructions. So Arjuna want to clarify. So he asked Lord Krishna this question, which is very realistic and it is representative of our struggle. So Arjuna's question is, what forces that prevent us from following this path or reaching that high ideal? What makes our progress difficult? What makes ones come to the attachments and aversions? So generally what happens is we all have our inner voice. We all have a conscience which makes us feel remorseful, which makes us feel kind of lamenting why I committed this activity, right? Why did I act in that way? We cannot make an excuse that we did not know that this activity was wrong activity, because somehow we have that inner voice which tells us, no, this is wrong. Somebody is doing stealing, he also has that inner voice, no, stealing is wrong, this extortion is wrong, the murder is wrong, oppression is wrong, corruption is wrong, some kind of being angry at others, yelling at others, this is wrong. But still we end up doing certain activities even though we have that inner voice. Why? So we intuitively we know these activities are wrong activities, some sinful activities, yet we commit those as if some strong force is impelling us to do that. So now Arjuna want to know what that strong force is. So text 37 onwards, now Krishna explain about one very important principle here, very important points here. Not only Krishna is going to explain what is that enemy which is forcing us to act in that way, but where to find that enemy and how to curb that enemy. So that is the flow of these next set of verses. So Shri Bhagwan Uvacha Kamesha Krodesha Rajo Guna Samudbhava Mahashano Mahapapma Vidyenam Ehivarinam. So this verse is also a very important verse. We can try to recite a couple of times if somebody else will like to recite this verse. So chapter 3, text number 37. Anybody will like to recite that verse? And we have many more devotees here today. And I noticed Priya Gorang Prabhu is also joining.
Prabhuji, I'm going to try it.
Yes,
same
sure,
thing
Prabhu.
You want to say? Shri Bhagwan Vacha Kama Esha Krodev Esha Rajo Guna Samudbhavam Mahashano Mahapapam Vidme Navmihver Vairinam.
Okay, good. Anybody else? So I was just telling that Priya Gauranga Prabhu is here too. Priya Gauranga Prabhu just moved from India, from Pune to USA. He is living in Troy now here. And we have opportunity to have Prabhu's association also. So welcome, Priya Gauranga Prabhu.
Can I try this verse?
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Kamayesha Krutayesha Rajo Guna Samudbhava Maha Nasho Mahapatma Vidbenami Vairinam.
Okay, thank you, bro. So first of all, welcome to our group here, our call here. Thank you for joining.
Thank you. Thank you for accepting me in this. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, anybody else will like to recite? Any Matajis?
Prabhuji, can I try?
Yes, Mataji.
Shri Bhagwan Uvacha काम एष क्रोध एष रजोगुण समुद्भवा महाशनो महापाप्मा विद्येनम इह वैरिणाम. Hare Krishna.
Okay, thank you.
Hare
So,
Krishna.
yes,
Shri Bhagwan Yuvacha Kama Esha Krodesha Rajoguna Sama Tamu Bhava Mahasano Mahapapam Videhe Enam Iha Varinam
okay,
Vairinam.
thank you, Vijay Prabhu. So, Kamesha Krodesha Rajoguna Samudbhava. So, what Krishna is telling in this verse is, who is this enemy who is forcing us to act sinfully? So, Krishna says, Kam Esha, this is lust alone, Rajoguna Samudbhava, which is born of the contact with the mode of passion. And later it transforms into anger. And Mahashano, this is the most sinful, Mahapapma, most sinful, Mahashano. Ashano means devouring fire. So this is the most sinful or devouring enemy. Vidhyenam ehi varinam. One should know for certain that this is the enemy in this world. So first is to identify the enemy, right? Who is that enemy? So Lord Krishna is saying, Kama. That is the enemy. Now, what does Kama really mean? Kama is used in different contexts, in different places here. Sometimes Kama simply refers to sexual lust. But Kama simply does not mean just the physical attraction to somebody, the sexual lust. The scripture uses word Kama for many different things here. Vedas, they use the word Kama to represent any desire. Yes, it includes a sexual desire also, but Kama in general, it refers to desire. Like we say the four Purushartha, the four desired goal of life, Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. Right? There also Kama is used. That Kama is by performing some religious activity, one want to gain some material opulence, dharma, artha. By doing dharma, one want to gain artha, and when one gets artha, then one want to fulfill kama, means desires. So there also kama is to represent any desire. So kama simply means any desire. It could be any desire for worldly pleasure. It could be desire for gaining wealth. It could be the desire for name and fame, desire for power, control, position. And yes, it includes a desire for sexual activity also. So when kama is fulfilled, it could lead to greed. Then one has the more and more desire. I want to get more. I want to get more. Just like some politician or the so-called spiritual leader or the industrialist, when they achieve something, then they want to get more. Industrialists, they establish one factory, one unit, then they want to get more, then they want to get more. Politician, they get one position, then they want to climb up further, they want to climb up further. One gets little follower, then they want to get more followers, more people under their control. So in that way, everybody, when their desire is fulfilled, it could lead to greed, desire for getting even more and more. And when kama is frustrated, if the desire is frustrated, you have a desire but you are not able to fulfill that desire, then what happens? Then it leads to anger. Just like you want to eat some nice food, you requested your spouse, the child requested the mother to make some particular item, and that particular item is not ready, or they are not able to cook that particular thing that day. Then what happens? Then anger comes. Oh, I wanted to eat this, why did you not make it? The child want to play with the particular toy, he wants to get a particular toy, and they don't get them. Then what happens? Immediately they get angry, they start throwing their hands and leg, and they start doing all the tantrums. So the fulfilled karma can lead to greed, and unfulfilled karma, the frustrated karma, can lead to anger. So one commits sin under the influence of all these three: lust, greed, or anger. So greed is nothing but intensified desire, and anger is frustrated desire. That's why Lord Krishna is labeling lust or desire as the root of all the evil. That's why lust or desire is described as the biggest enemy. So we act based on what we see, what we hear, and based on that, we develop some desires. In the media, there are so many things propagated in so many ways. We drive on the road and you see so many billboards, so many things are being publicized. You take this, you take that, you enjoy this, then you will become happy. So many movies, magazines, posters, billboards, advertisements, all these things are propagating so many things. So that is from external sources. We keep getting bombarded by the external things. And then internally also, mind is the storehouse. We have done something previously, we have some impressions stored in our mind. And sometimes those previous memories come out, right? They get triggered by seeing something. Oh, this is how I used to enjoy earlier, and I want to enjoy same way again. And then we make plans. When will I get that chance to enjoy in the same way next time? So the desires come both way. Desires come from outside also. Desire come from within also, based on our previous stored impressions. And then related to all these sexuality related lust, there's so much being shown on the screens, on the billboards, on the internet, everything. And then particular dressing sense on the name of modernization, it all provokes desires. And then somebody commits the crime, then people say, oh, why did this happen, why did this bad happen, why that particular person got raped, and why did that particular person committed that. But whom to blame? The one who became the victim or one who committed that crime in that particular case? Actually, if we see, both are at fault, right? Somebody who is wearing exposing dress, provoking dress, that person is also at fault. And of course, the person who committed that person is also at fault. Just like the example, we have quoted this example earlier also. If somebody is having a lot of money, they are carrying a lot of money in their pocket and walking through a dark alley at night, and they are revealing their money out of their pockets. All these dollar bills, $100 bills are just peeking out of the pockets. And some thieves or some robbers are there in that alley. Now they see this person is carrying a lot of money in his pocket, and he is just walking carelessly in the middle of the night in this dark alley, and they have a tendency to commit that activity. And this person is revealing, he is giving them indication, yes, I have money, come loot me. So both are at fault. The person who has the money, he also be very careful, he should hide it nicely. And the persons who have these sinful tendencies to rob others, steal from others, they are also at fault. So both are at fault. So we create desire based on our mind, and then we feel hankering and lamentation to fulfill those desires. If we pacify our desire, then we get peace automatically. Once one person went to a sadhu and he asked, Man bahut ashant hai. And my mind is very restless. How to make my mind peaceful? And the sadhu said, if you want to make your mind peaceful, first pacify your desires. अगर अपने मन को शांत करना चाहते हो तो पहले अपनी इच्छाओं को शांत करो. The same way, once one very rich person, he went to Prabhupada. He said, Prabhupada, I have a lot of wealth, I have these many factories, but still I am very restless. My mind is very restless. So what to do? Prabhupada said, don't worry. You can give your factories to us. We will take care of your factories and you will become completely peaceful. And this person became afraid. Oh, I was asking to become peaceful and they are saying, give your factories to us. And that person, he got up and he wanted to, Prabhupada, I have to do something. I need to go. And Prabhupada told his disciple, note down his contact number. we should approach him. And this person became even more afraid. He wanted to run away from that situation. So the problem is, we may have all these different things of the world, but still mind is very restless. The reason is unfulfilled desires, uncontrolled desires. Not that one is unhappy because of some lack of facilities in this world, but people are unhappy because of their uncontrolled mind, unfulfilled desires. And Lord Krishna, that's why he says in this verse, the biggest enemy is Mahashano Mahapapma. This desires, kama, it blazes like fire. Mahashano, that is the most sinful, devouring enemy in this world. So because of these desires, when they are not fulfilled, they turn into anger, wrath. Even if they are fulfilled, they becomes into greed, and they, more we try to satisfy, they burn more. Right? This is just like keep pouring ghee in the fire. If we want to put off the fire, should we put the ghee in the fire, or should we pour the water on that? If we put the ghee in the fire is going to burn even more. So same way, if we try to satisfy all our desires, more they become blazing fire. See, our senses are limited. We have a desire to enjoy in this world. The ears want to hear something. More you put your earphones on your ears and hear that loud music, your ears will become tired, right? They have some limitation for how long you can continue to hear. You want to watch something, eyes want to watch something, you watch for a few hours, ultimately your eyes will become tired, they want rest. You have desire to eat something, you have all the wealth of this world, the richest person of the world, even though you have hundreds, 200 different items in front of you, but still you have limitation in your ability how much you can eat. So all our senses are limited. No matter how much we try to satisfy, there is a limitation. But there is no limitation to the ability of mind in terms of thinking and pondering on that, and continue to develop those different thoughts and different desires. Even though somebody is getting old, all their life they have enjoyed various things, they are getting old now, but do you think the calm, the desires have gone down? No matter somebody is getting old, but their desires are not dying down. The person may be on the deathbed, but their desires are not on the deathbed, right? That's why Shankaracharya, the famous shloka, what does he say? That the old person, his all his hairs have turned gray, the teeth have fallen down, he is walking with a stick, but still the desires remain. So the desires do not end, even though somebody has tried to enjoy all their life. That's why fulfilling the desires is like pouring the ghee in the fire. There is a story, so many stories actually from the scriptures. We know Ravana had so many wives. He had enjoyed with so many women. Still, his desire to enjoy with women was not over. He had forcibly enjoyed with Rambha also. He had done with so many other women also. Still, he heard about Sita Devi and he wanted to. He said, "Oh, Sita, she is so beautiful," and he wanted to enjoy Sita also. Indra, even though Indra has all the opulences, Indra was so much attracted to the wife of Gautam Rishi, Ahilya Devi, and he wanted to enjoy with Ahilya, and he disguised himself in the form of Gautam Rishi to go enjoy with her. So no matter how much somebody is trying to enjoy, but these desires, these propensities do not go away. King Yajati, a very famous story from the Bhagavatam also. King Yajati, he married Shukracharya's daughter Devyani. And he also ended up marrying Sharmishta, the friend of Devyani, and he enjoyed with Devyani for 10,000 years. Actually, King Yajati, he exchanged his old age with the youth of his son to enjoy. This whole story is described in Srimad Bhagavatam, 9th canto. So he exchanged his old life with the youth of his son, and he enjoyed for 10,000 years. But still, after enjoying for that long, he was not completely exhausted with all that enjoyment. Ultimately, he realized that no matter he tries to enjoy, this desires to enjoy do not go away. And one day he started telling this story to Devyani, that there is this we called goat, bakra, the old bakra, that this goat has enjoyed for so long. He has been chewing on the grass for so long, but his tendency to continue to chew on that does not go away. And indirectly, Yajati is talking about himself, that we are like that goat, like that bakra. Throughout the life we have enjoyed, but the desire to enjoy do not go away, even though we may be standing at the verge of death. But these desires, the kamanae, ichhae, these do not go away. So the desires continue to agitate our mind. In Bhagavatam, there is still another story also. Narada Muni and Daksha Prajapati. Narada was cursed by Daksha Prajapati. Why? Because Narada transformed the sons of Daksha Prajapati into celibates, brahmacharis. Daksha had sent them to go in the forest and perform austerities. Narada Muni met them on the way and preached to them and made all of them into brahmacharis. And then Narada Muni came to Daksha Prajapati to inform, and Daksha became very angry at Narada Muni. And at that time, Daksha was actually giving a lecture to Narada Muni. What was he telling? Daksha was giving the reasoning that what is the point of this artificial renouncing? One should first try to fully enjoy the senses. One should try to enjoy, and during that enjoyment, one will face some miseries also, will experience some miseries also, which come associated with enjoyment. And when one has got the full experience of the enjoyment as well as the associated miseries, then based on that experience, one will develop some detachment. Some detachment will arise. So what is the point of artificially renouncing? So actually, even though Daksha Prajapati seems to be giving a very nice theory, nice logical explanation, but there is a fault in this theory. No matter how much somebody tries to enjoy, this permanent detachment does not come just by continue to enjoy. Yes, some detachment may come, which is temporary, because as I said, our senses have a limitation. Even if somebody has a most favorite food in front of them, they have a tendency, limitation how much they can eat. If somebody likes rasgullas, you feed him 10, 15, 20 rasgullas, ultimately that person will be filled in the stomach. After that, you give him one more rasgulla, that person cannot eat. Right? No, I cannot eat any more now, even though it's his favorite. But does it mean that he has got a detachment from rasgulla now? That he doesn't want to eat rasgulla forever? For now, he is completely satisfied. His senses are limited. He cannot eat anymore. But a day later, 2 days later, he will have again the desire to enjoy that rasgulla. So sometimes people say, oh, just overdo certain activity, and then you will be bored with that. You will be detached from doing that. That is also one very famous philosophy by another so-called guru. They say overdo activity, even for the sexual enjoyment. Just overdo it, and then you will become bored, and automatically you will be detached from that. That detachment is temporary. Ultimately, the desires to enjoy, they again arise. So that is related to desires for related to desires. Now for anger also, coming in control of anger versus exhibiting anger. So sometime, yes, person may become angry because of their frustrated desire, but sometimes the person may just exhibit anger as an instrument to teach somebody also. Daksha, he was getting angry on Narada Muni because his desires were frustrated. Oh, all my sons became brahmachari. And Daksha also became angry at Lord Shiva also. Another incident when Lord Shiva came into the assembly, or when everybody was sitting, Daksha Prajapati entered into the assembly. Everybody got up from their seats and offered respect to Daksha, but Lord Shiva did not get up from his seat, did not offer obeisances to Daksha. And Daksha became very angry. He got very offended. I am the father-in-law, and this person is not getting up and offering obeisances to me. So he became very angry. And Lord Shiva, on the other side, he tolerated. He did not get angry. He did not counter attacking or counter blaspheming Daksha Prajapati. So that is the difference in getting angry when desires become frustrated, when our expectations become frustrated. On the other side, there is example of exhibiting anger. Exhibiting anger is trying to teach a lesson to somebody, like Lord Ramachandra. He exhibited anger on Sugriva. When Sugriva did not come after 4 months of rainy season had passed, as promised, then Lord Ramachandra exhibited anger. He called Lakshman, bring my bow and arrow. I will teach a lesson to Sugriva. What does he think? The same arrow with which I sent Bali to my abode, that arrow is still there. I will kill Sugriva also. So Lakshmana, he was telling Ramachandra, Prabhu, so you should have done that much earlier. Now you are doing this thing. Very good. So let me bring your bow and arrow. And Lord Ramachandra said, tell Bali if he doesn't come, then tell Sugriv if he doesn't come, I will kill him tomorrow. Lakshmana was saying, why tomorrow? Just do it today. Why you want to wait till tomorrow? Because Lord Ramachandra was not really angry. He was exhibiting anger to chastise Sugriva for forgetting his promise. But Lord Ramachandra is saying, I will chastise him tomorrow. So even if somebody become angry, one should not act immediately. One should put it to a later time, because by that time the anger will be pacified. Now, there are so many examples like that. Like Srila Prabhupada, he will also sometimes chastise his disciple. Not that he is really becoming angry or why you did not do like this, but he is exhibiting that anger to correct them, to instruct them. Now, what happens to what is the effect of karma on our consciousness? That is what is being explained next. So text 37, Lord Krishna is describing karma, the desire. They are the biggest enemy. Now, when we talk about desire, what is really the desire? There could be spiritual desire also, desire to please Krishna. So what is the difference in that? We use two words generally. One is kama, another is prema. Lust and love. So what is the difference? Where is the boundary? Anybody? काम और प्रेम दोनों में क्या अंतर है? What is the difference in those two?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Prabhuji, I
Yes,
think
Mataji.
calm is to satisfy like your senses. Prem is to give pleasure to others, what they need.
Okay, good. So Mataji said calm is to satisfy your own senses, and prem is to give pleasure to others, satisfy others. Any other answers? Okay, so that is correct. But rather than saying giving pleasure to others, we want to be more specific here, because sometimes Prabhupada writes that on the name of nationalism, socialism, trying to serve others also, that is kind of extended sense enjoyment, sense gratification. So it's not about pleasing others, pleasing or satisfying others. It should be specifically directed towards Krishna. So in Chaitanya Charitamrita, there is a very nice verse which talk about the difference in kama and prema. It says, Atmendriya priti vancha tare bali kama, Krishnendriya priti ichha dhare prema nam. So what is the difference? Atmendriya priti vancha, when there is desire for one's own personal enjoyment, okay, to satisfy one's own senses. Tare bali kama, that is lust. And then Krishnendriya priti ichha dhare prema nam. And when there is desire to satisfy Krishna, to satisfy the senses of Krishna, that is prema. So any activities which we are doing when there is a desire to serve Krishna, to satisfy Krishna, that is prema. Like the gopis were ready to do anything for Krishna. Like their whole consciousness was absorbed in serving Krishna and satisfying Krishna, even though they were ready to come at the mid of the night on the sound of the flute of Krishna. So their whole purpose was to serve Krishna, to satisfy Krishna. That is prema. That is the highest definition of prema. But in this material world, that prema is the perverted. So that is kama. When we are trying to relate ourselves with this material world, try to satisfy our own senses in different ways, that is called kama. So what is the result of kama? Right? Krishna told us why we act sinfully. Even though we hear our conscious, we hear our some inner voice, this is not right, this is wrong, but still we end up doing because of our unsatisfied desires, in various forms. And the result of this lust is it covers our consciousness. So Krishna says in text 38, just as a fire is covered by smoke, a mirror is covered by dust, and an embryo is covered by the womb, similarly one's knowledge gets shrouded by the desires. So Krishna gives 3 examples here. Just like fire is covered by smoke, second is mirror is covered by the dust, and third one is the embryo is concealed by the womb. So these 3 examples, Krishna is talking about 3 different aspects of covering. See, fire is the source of light, and it gets covered by smoke. So that is the partial obscuring of the fire, like the thin cloud which comes because of some sattvic desire. Even though somebody may be in the mode of goodness, in the mode of goodness also somebody has some particular desires to enjoy within this material world. Ultimately, even somebody is in the mode of goodness, that is also binding. It may be a gold chain, but it is still binding. So the desires, which is sattvic desires also, somebody want to enjoy nature, somebody want to become a scholar of the Shastras, feel the pride in knowing so many shlokas, verses, even though sattvic desire, they also form a cloud. So that is the partial obscuring because of sattvic desires. That is the example of fire covered with smoke. And then moving further, the mirror, which is covered by the dust. So mirror is naturally reflective. It gives the reflection of somebody, and it gets partially obscured because of the dust. So it becomes semi-opacity. That is like the covering because of rajasic desires on our intellectual. The desires which is because of passionate attitude to gain some wealth, some position, some power in this world. And then the third example, the embryo getting covered by the womb. This is a complete obfuscation, which is like the consequence of tamasic desire. That's a complete covering, right? The embryo is not even visible because it's inside the womb. It's not even visible, complete covering. Now that is the covering on the consciousness because of tamasic desires. So Krishna is giving these 3 examples Somebody's consciousness may be covered because of tamasic desires, can be covered because of rajasic desires, passionate desires, and the consciousness may be covered because of the desires even in the mode of goodness also. The desire to enjoy is so strong. The womb covered embryo is compared to the trees, like the embryo is completely in a helpless situation, right? The trees are also in a complete helpless situation. So this example also represents the situation of trees, which are considered completely into the ignorant state. The dust covered mirror is compared to the species of birds and beasts, and the smoke covered fire is compared to the human beings. Even though there is a spark in the human form of life, we can understand better, we can utilize our power of discrimination. The fire is covered by the smoke, so same way we get covered by certain desires in this world to enjoy. By carefully handling of the smoke in the fire can be made into blaze. So therefore the human life, that is a chance for the living entity to escape this entanglement of material existence. So in human form of life, we can conquer this enemy of lust by cultivating the Krishna consciousness under the guidance of Guru Sadhu Shastra. So that's why Krishna is quoting these three particular examples in this. Our situation is like the fire covered with smoke. As carefully handling the smoke, the fire can be blazed. Our human life can be made into success by working carefully under the guidance of Guru Sadhu Shastra. But in general, the desire to enjoy is very strong. In this world, we see people may have so many different problems in life, but little bit enjoyment they get, and they get completely covered up by that enjoyment. They think all these problems of life, that is the way of life. Ultimately, sometime happiness, sometime distress, that's how the life goes on. Kabhi sukh, kabhi dukh, kabhi khushi, kabhi gam. Right? So let the life continue like that. So there is a one very nice story also. I don't know, most of you may have heard that story, the famous story of Sansara Darshan. There is a nice painting also about this whole story. How many of you have just heard the title Sansara Darshan? No? Okay, if I tell you the story, you will understand. You will say, yes, we have heard that story. So once there was a person, he used to go for a walk on the outskirts of the village. And this person, one day it happened to go inside the forest for a stroll. As this person is walking inside deeper into the forest, the sun is setting, it's getting dark, and he thought of turning back. As he turned back, he saw all these wild animals were there, and these wild animals are going to attack on him. So he started running in the opposite direction of those wild animals, into deeper into the forest. And as he ran deeper into the forest, he saw a witch standing in the front, ready to devour him. He got even more afraid, and he turned left and he started running perpendicular to both the animals and the witch. So he is running. There was a ditch which was covered by the vines, and in the dark, he could not see that ditch. And as he was falling into the ditch, his foot was caught by that vine, and he's hanged based on that vine. So he is hanging upside down with his head down into the ditch from that tree. The wild elephant and the other animal are standing there. And then in the ditch at the bottom, there is a snake ready to bite him as soon as he fall into that ditch. And as this person is hanging upside down, trying to save his life, he saw there were two rats on that tree branch who are trying to chew on that vine from which this person was hanging down. And as these two mouse are chewing on that vine, and there were some wasp or the bees, these bees, they are trying to sting on the face of this person. And during that situation also, as he hanging upside down, being surrounded by all these problems, he saw up and there was a honey hive, beehive, from where the honey was dripping. One drop of honey came and fell onto the mouth of that person. This person is licking onto that honey drop and he is feeling very happy. Even though all these problems are there, if you see a person surrounded by all these problems and still smiling by licking that honey drop, what will you tell that person? What will you think about that person? Hey, Baba, are you crazy or what? You are surrounded by all these problems and you're still thinking, oh, very nice. This honey is very sweet. So what does this whole situation represent? That is what is called Sansara Darshan. This person, nothing but represents the living entity. This forest is the material world. We came into this material world, and as we enter, we keep getting deeper into this material world as our life is passing by. We are chased by these wild animals. What are these wild animals? The various diseased conditions. So many diseases come our way and they trouble us. We are chased by these diseases. As we continue to escape from these diseases and still trying to enjoy in this world, ultimately we run towards that witch. What is that witch? That is the old age. The old age is standing there to embrace us. And we want to run away from that old age also. We run further and then we try to save ourselves falling into that ditch, hanging from that tree. And in the ditch, this serp, the snake which is sitting in the ditch, that is the death. The death is waiting for the person. And the two mouse, one black, one white, sitting on that tree, trying to chew on that vine, that represents the day and night. Time is passing by. Every day with the setting of sun, rising of sun, the life is passing by, the time is passing by. And then there are so many bees which are stinging us. Those are the various difficulties in life, various problems, various difficulty which come in life. And then one drop of honey, little bit in between, there is little happiness also. Somebody praised us, we got something little here, something little there, and we think, oh, I'm very happy, life is very peaceful, let the life just continue like that. So that is the situation of the living entity in this world. We are not able to understand how the time is passing by, what is the real goal of life, and the desire to enjoy is so strong that we continue putting ghee into that fire. Let me try a little bit, let me try to enjoy a little bit more, a little more, and I will become happy. So that's what Krishna is saying, that the desires to enjoy, they cover our intellect, they cover our consciousness. So the wise living entity, the pure consciousness, becomes covered by his eternal enemy in the form of lust, desires, which is never satisfied and it burns like fire. The burns like fire analogy, why it is given, no matter how much we try to satisfy, the fire is not pacified. If you keep putting more ghee into the fire, it will burn more. So same way, more we try to satisfy, more our desires, they torment us. So next point is very important. What Krishna is telling is, we need to find this enemy. Where does this karma reside? What is the place of this enemy? So text number 40, Krishna says, Indriyani manobuddhir asya adhishtanam uchyate eter vimochyate esha jnanam avritya dehinam. The senses, indriyani, the senses, mano, the mind, buddhir, the intelligence. These are the sitting places of this lust-like enemy. So through them, lust covers the real knowledge of the living entity and bewilders him. So what are the places, hiding places of this enemy? So Krishna is describing the hiding places of this enemy: senses, mind, and our intelligence. They are the sitting places, hiding places. See, before we want to destroy the enemy, we need to know where that enemy resides, where that enemy is hiding. Just like if a terrorist is there and the intelligence agency come to know the terrorist is going to attack in the city on this particular date. So first they want to find out where is this terrorist hiding. Right? When Osama bin Laden, he was hiding, the whole US government was trying to find where he is hidden. And whenever any terrorist attack is going to happen, if the intelligence bureau come to know, the secret agency come to know, they first want to find out where that enemy is hiding. In the war also, if let's say India, Pakistan, on the border, some war is going to happen in between India, China, some war is going to happen. So we want to find out where the checkposts are of the enemy. So whichever are the stronger checkpost of those enemies are, what is their strength on those checkposts, where he lives, so we can attack there. So those are the examples of physical enemy, right? We know, okay, this is a physical enemy as a terrorist or the opposite army. But here we are talking not about the physical enemy. Here we are talking about the lust, the desires, which is in a it's not as any physical form. The senses, mind, and intelligence, these are the resting places. Why? Because the senses, they get attracted by various sense object, then they dictate to the mind, and the mind will dictate to the intelligence that, oh, you figure out, I want to enjoy in this particular way. And then our intelligence becomes bewildered. The job of intelligence is to do discrimination, finding the difference between right and wrong. Now, when the intelligence loses that power of discrimination, then we fall into that ditch, just like the chariot. Right? If the horses are not controlled, if the horses are not held by the rein, they will run hither and thither, and they may fall into the ditch also. So same way, if our intelligence become corrupted, if we are not able to decide between right and wrong, that's when we end up making the wrong choices. The same intelligence which is supposed to prevent us from falling in the trap of this lust like enemy, that same intelligence is used to actually satisfy the lust. Right? The people who are committing crime, it's not that they are not intelligent, they are also very intelligent. Actually, they are utilizing their intelligence to make plan how to commit that particular sinful activity. Somebody want to commit that theft, for that also they make a lot of planning how to commit that particular theft and escape from the cops and the other different elements. So they are making plans. Somebody who is trying to enjoy, they plan so many different ways. And the same intelligence which is supposed to protect us from falling in trap, the same intelligence is utilized to make plans how to enjoy. So how to curb this enemy? So now we know who is the enemy. Lust or desires, those are the enemy. So any desire which take us away from Krishna, or which takes us away from our goal, basically, that is classified as kama, lust. For example, the child, his goal is to get good marks. But if he is having a desire to enjoy, play with other boys and play video games and all, and he goes away from his goal of study or passing the exam, so all other desires which are obstructing in the goal, that is unwanted desire, lust. So same way, our goal is to achieve Krishna. Our goal is to achieve Krishna prema. And any other desires which become obstacle in that goal, all those activities are called lust. So how to curb this enemy? So we know the enemy is lust. What is the hiding places of that enemy? Mind, senses, mind, and intelligence. Now the next part is, okay, how to curb this enemy, right? How do I win over this enemy? So Krishna gives the answer that control the urges of the senses and sharpen your intelligence. Whenever any desire come, it's not that one has to immediately act on that to fulfill that desire. Try to control the urges of the senses. And this was what was concluded in second chapter also. It's not that The desires flow and they enter like the rivers, but one should try to control those desires. That's what Krishna was telling in second chapter also. So controlling the urges of the senses and at the same time sharpen the intelligence. Because if the senses and mind, they kidnap the intelligence, then it's very difficult to control that situation. Just like if the enemy, they bribe the bodyguard, right? Somebody is having a bodyguard for his protection, but if enemy comes and bribe the bodyguard himself, then that bodyguard itself will become as a worse enemy or worse situation to handle. So same way, if our intelligence itself is corrupted, then it is difficult to handle the situation. So if our senses and mind, they have kidnapped our intelligence itself, then it's very difficult. Another example is you want to protect your house from the thieves. You don't want the thieves to enter inside your house, so you want to close the doors and keep it locked nicely so the thieves cannot enter. But if you keep the doors open and now the thieves have tried to enter inside, once you detect, oh, thieves are trying to enter in the house, now I should try to push those thieves out and close the door. That is going to be very difficult. So what is the better situation? Earlier itself, try to keep your house closed, protected, right, by putting some anti-theft devices or something. So it's better to keep the house protected rather than keeping the doors open, inviting to the enemies, the thieves. And once they're trying to enter, then try to push them out and close the doors. So one need to sharpen the intelligence rather than once we have become victim of all these urges, at that time trying to control. Another example is continuous cleaning of the house versus once there is a lot of dust has already settled inside the house. So if you clean the house on a regular basis, it's easier to clean the house before a lot of dust has accumulated. But once a lot of dust has settled inside the house, a lot of dust has accumulated, and it has become a big covering everywhere, at that time it becomes very difficult to clean. So better is to clean it regular basis. So same way, we need to sharpen our intelligence on regular basis. We need to control the urges of the senses rather than trying to enjoy throughout the life and then at a later stage think, now I need to control my senses, now I need to purify my consciousness. So much dust, so much conditioning has already settled into our mind and intelligence. At that time it becomes very difficult to clean. I know people, they get older, they are retired from their life, from their occupation, still it's very difficult for them to engage in this process. They are so much conditioned to do certain activities, they cannot give up those activities. So it's not easy to think or say that, oh, enjoy all your life and then at the old age then you can do bhakti. It doesn't happen. So we need to clean our consciousness, we need to sharpen our intelligence from early on to different stages of controlling the urges or sharpening the intelligence. Earlier we try, we struggle, and we may fail also, right? We may try to control the urges of the senses and we may fail. But if we continue to sharpen our intelligence, the stage will come that yes, we will struggle, but ultimately we will succeed also. And then eventually the stage will come that you don't have to struggle and you succeed. So the two general misconceptions which are there about the spiritual life is that spiritual life means completely giving away our sensual activities. That is not true, because you are still eating, you are still taking rest for the body. So the sense enjoyment or the satisfying the senses is still there, but the purpose or motivation is different. It's not that one completely stop eating, completely stop sleeping, or doing any other activity. No, so the spiritual life does not mean completely giving up everything, stopping your life. The other misconception is family life means full enjoyment. right? This complete blanket permit to enjoy. No, that is also not true. Family life is also meant for regulation, following the regulative principles, at least our four regulative principles, which are like the pillar to stop the four basic sinful activities. No meat eating, no illicit relation, no gambling, no intoxication. So by following these regulative principles and the principles to progress in bhakti, the chanting of the holy name, getting up early in the morning, um, attending temple programs, our spiritual gatherings, associating with devotees. So by practicing those do's and don'ts, in that way we continue to progress in bhakti, we sharpen our intelligence and we protect ourselves from the external attack of the enemy. So the concluding statement is we need to control the urges of the senses by regulating the senses, need to purify the mind and sharpen the intelligence. So I will stop here and we'll see if anybody has any discussion point. So in summary, Krishna is talking about who is the biggest enemy, where that enemy hides, and how to curb that enemy. Okay, so Srimad Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. So we'll open up for any discussions, questions.
Yeah, Prabhuji, very interesting example you gave. There are two things I think, Kama and Krodha. Desires, when you say desires, it could be your desire or somebody else's desire. Somebody forces you to do something. But personally, there is a very beautiful saying that best way to control anger is delay.
Mhm.
If both parties agree that we can wait for 2 or there are a lot of books written in psychology and sociology and anger and all that and rage and all that, and people make millions of dollars on those type of things. But basic issue is that if both parties agree that if we can disengage it for a longer time, it's between child when we get a married child or husband or wife or something. And my doctor used to say, you have to just get away from it for a while and just walk. But the other party won't let you do that sometimes. And that really burns the fire. Once you start arguing, you were always saying that stop reacting and respond. But with the time, if somebody doesn't allow you the time, that's the biggest problem we have, all between son and daughter and everything else, son, husband, wife, and friends and all that. Other thing is that you were saying that Yayati's story was a very nahi kame kamana bhogena sampati havisha krishna bhuyevam vivardate. That's the way he comes up. There is another interesting nisvo vasti shatam shatam dasasatya laksham sahasra lakshay sahasriti palatam kshitipati Chakreshanam Vajate Brahma Shaiva Padam Shivo Hari Padam Ashavadim Kogata. Hope and expectation is very the first thing, like calm is any expectation is one of the biggest problems we all have, and it really messes up Grahastha ashram and it messes up all the ashrams. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. Thank you. Yes, the main point for controlling anger is delay. As I gave the example of Lord Ramachandra, what he is exhibiting from his character is, even though he is angry, right, he is exhibiting that anger. He does not say, I'm going to act immediately. So he is teaching us by that example is, even you feel stimulated under certain situations, but better is to delay. And that's true for desires also. Some desires come, it doesn't mean you have to act on those immediately. I was talking to Rompan Maharaj also once, and Maharaj was, even if you say, oh, I feel like doing this, I have a desire to do this particular thing, and Maharaj answer is just delay. wait for this. Let's say you say, I have 2 cars, I want to buy one more. So just delay, don't act immediately. You give it some time and try to see if you really need that. Right? So don't, if you get a desire, don't immediately act on that. Just give it some time. So that is true for both desire and anger also. That don't act immediately, just delay it. But then you will get in terms of desire, you will understand if it is really a need or a want. Right? If you need that or you just simply want that. If you need it, even after you delay, then you will feel, yes, I really need this. I cannot sustain without that. But when you delay, the want may go away and you will understand, yes, I really do not need this. I can live without that. So by giving some time, you will understand the difference between a want and a need.
That's very true, Prabhuji. I will tell you, I'll stop it after that. One of the other book I read, it is, I like to read psychology and all that. And the same point, the guy was saying logical consequences. And they give you an example, the child or a teenager, you were supposed to come in and they come in late. So mother is worried about it. Why the child hasn't come in, the old American way of doing it, or they get. So the first thing is, child comes and mother gets mad because she was worried something could have happened to her. Now she's fine. But mother gets mad or parents get mad. So what he says, sleep on it. We'll talk about it, about consequences next, tomorrow, not today. And that's a very wise decision that because he says you were worried about something could have happened to him. That's good that he's safe. But you are still angry because your mind is saying, why didn't he listen to me? But basically, delay is the only way. My father always used to say, sleep on it. If it's a major decision, sleep on it. Don't take it right away.
Right. Yes. Very true, Prabhuji. Thank you. Okay. Anybody else? Any question, comment? Okay, so whatever verses we are discussing, please try to read those in detail also, the verses, translation, and the purport by Srila Prabhupada, because during our discussion, we do not go into reading every purport in detail. I just try to summarize the different points and understandings from that, but it's always good to read by yourself those texts from the Bhagavad Gita book also. Okay, so thank you everyone for joining. And
Hare
Srila
Krishna,
Prabhupada
Prabhuji.
Ki Jai.
Hare Krishna.
Okay, Hare Krishna.